Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Williamson County Sports Connection. I'm Jack Daniels, your host, and thank you for joining us for this special first annual Round Table of Coaches of Williamson County Football. And so I'm going to start with everybody introducing themselves, telling them what school they're at, and how long they've been the head football coach at that school. And I'm going to start to my left and start with Page High School.
I'm Charles Rathbone. I'm going into my second season.
I'm Will Hester. I'm the head football coach at Ravenwood. This is my first season.
I'm Mike Woodward at Brentwood High School. This is my first season.
Brian Rector from Centennial. This will be my third season.
Go ahead, Paul.
I'm Paul Breece. I'm the WCTV broadcast announcer, and this is about my 8th season.
Donnie, Webb, Franklin High School, second season.
Scot Keasler, Summit High School, and we start my 3rd season.
Scott Blade, Independence High School, first season.
I'm Michael Jackson, Fairview High School. I'm assistant coach, filling in for Chris Hughes, who couldn't be with us today.
And Coach Hughes is he's probably the old timer of our group. He thinks this starts his 5th season as a head football coach at Fairview, but most of us are pretty young as far as being a head coach in Williamson County. Brian was here a couple of years back at Ravenwood for about 5 years, and then he left and came back. Now he's in his 3rd year. I'm going to start with just randomly pick guys, and we'll go through some questions. And don't give me no yes or no answer, fellas. This is your opportunity to talk about your kids and talk about this time of the year, which is, I think, it's the greatest time of the year, fall season, when we're into football. So let's start with just what everybody has to deal with right now. I mean, I've been going by some practices and seeing some things. Heat issues, Coach Rathbone. I said, how, as a coach, are you dealing with the heat issues that you face during this time of the year?
Well, really, what we do, we kind of practice around the heat issues. We'll work out in the morning 7 to 9 in the weight room and get our conditioning in. Then we'll come back in the afternoons at 5:30 and practice till about 8, throwing the ball around, doing our 7-on-7 stuff. So we really haven't had any heat issues just yet. But, next week when we put on shoulder pads and a helmet, then we'll just adjust accordingly.
Coach, Will?
One thing that we do about the heat, obviously, like Charles mentioned, it's not really hit us much right now, but we weigh our kids in and out before and after practice every day, and talk about the hydration issues and how much weight they lose water-wise. And if they do not regain 60% of that weight back before the next practice, we don't allow them to practice in whatever we're practicing in at that time. They can go out there and get the mental reps, but we don't allow them to go through the physical part of practice. So we make sure with the weighing in and out of the kids that it helps us keep up with their hydration and whether they're retaining that water that they need.
Did you do that at the very beginning of the summer workouts? Will you weigh them in to see what they were?
We've done it since we got back from the dead period.
Uh-huh.
I mean, obviously we do our weighing for testing, but we're kind of been tracking their weight patterns right now so that we know, guys that generally lose a lot of weight during a workout or whatever. But the big guys can stand to lose a little more than the small guys. We try to make sure that they're all replenishing 60% of what they lose back before we go back out again.
Mm-hmm. Coach Woodward, how important or how big a player is your athletic trainer in something like this, keeping up with the heat for you?
Well, he's huge. He's one of them who help keep track of the heat index as we get going. And I think, like the other guys mentioned, it hasn't been too much of a factor yet. Going early in the morning, we haven't had the heat indices that are in that danger zone. But as practices get going, he'll be the one who keeps up with that, lets us know if we're getting close, if we need to start taking some pads off, or need to go inside, and he'll gauge that for us, and what he says goes. So, as coaches, we'll do everything we can to keep them hydrated, be smart about giving them breaks, but he sets the tone and lays the law down as far as what we can be in, and if there does come a time where we have to cut it and go inside.
Mm-hmm. Coach Rector, here in a couple of weeks, school's going to be started. We're going to be getting out at 2:40 in the afternoon, and someday you're going to come out there and that heat index is going to be about 107, 108. What kind of alternative plan are you going to have, when you hit that point?
Well, the good thing I think for all of us now is most of us are on huddle, and so what we try to do when we can't be outside is usually get into a classroom, which are all equipped with LCDs and internet access. So most of us will probably be doing a lot of film work at that point in time. If the weight room is already done and you've already had your workout for the day, then we don't want to lose. We don't ever just say, hey, go home. We don't have the option necessarily of a gym either, because volleyball will be in season as well. So you're literally, when it's 107, like you said, you're not even able to go outside and walk through. So we'll do film work and board work and things of that nature should it come to that scenario.
Would you ever practice late, like 7 at night or something like that?
We have done that before when we can, and that's the forecast thing. If we feel like a big heat wave is going to come in when school starts, we'll absolutely release them to go get some homework done and maybe some supper and bring them back, under the lights. That's definitely an option. I think we've had to do that maybe twice in the 2 years that I've been at Centennial. So hopefully we won't have to do that at all.
Mm-hmm. Coach Webb, I know TWSAA has changed their mind on when you can put shoulder pads on. I think they're going to let you guys on the 22nd of July throw some shoulder pads on. Is that going to help the kids get used to heat a little bit better?
Well, obviously, we at least get them in the helmet shoulder pads earlier than what they've allowed us in the past. It's not going to change what we were doing practice-wise because we were already organized and set
Sure.
what we wanted to do. Main thing is, just like the rest of them, is that we kind of look ahead and see what if we all know when the weather's coming because the heat's coming, but you eventually got to get in it anyways. And so we set practices if we haven't worked out already, get in the weight room, or like I said, it's film work, find a classroom because we don't have the facilities to get into, find a gym somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Coach Keasler, how about your schedule right now? Are you going early or late, or how you going right now?
We go more in the evening after 5, and we will get a lift in, and we'll also go outside and do some team stuff right now with in our helmets. So we get about 2.5 hours. We have not had any real heat trouble because of the way we've scheduled it. But as Coach Rector said, it's common. We're going to have to deal with it a couple of days, and when that does present itself, we usually have a gymnasium to go in. If not, we will watch film, do some chalk talk things. We're always going to get something accomplished and not let the weather or the heat take that away from us.
Mm-hmm. Coach Scott, you come from Oak Ridge, been in East Tennessee. I know the weather's a little bit different in East Tennessee than Middle Tennessee, but what's your schedule look like right now where we're in this preseason?
Yeah, just 4 days a week, 5 to 7. We're still, with our splitting up skilled positions, they're lifting time and the linemen. So half of them are lifting, half of them are on the field. We switch. So, we're getting adapted to the heat, one day at a time. And, we've been conditioning them all along. So I think as long as you condition them, and we practice in the evening, and we're going to play in the evening. And that's sometimes the hottest part of the day.
Sure.
Is when it gets stagnant and humid. So we're trying to build up, the tolerance and get in shape that way.
Right. Well, Coach Jackson, I know you're new to Williamson County also.
Yes.
Come over from Cheatham County. Welcome to Williamson County. I know you guys, I think right now probably you're doing a 7-on-7 in Tennessee Tech with your skill people. But how has the heat affected you guys yet?
No, sir, since the end of the dead period, we've been coming in late enough in the evening. Sometimes we start at 6, maybe a little bit beforehand if we can, and get in the weight room for an hour and a half, and finish our practices under the lights and go out there and put the ball in play and practice some of our position stuff and doing some team things.
Scott, I'm going to come back to you on you being new assistant coaches. How difficult has it been to try to get some assistant coaches into Independence High School for you?
Well, it's been difficult. With the population of Independence has kind of dropped a little bit, so we haven't added any new teaching positions. So that's been a challenge to get good people in place that can be in the building, as well as your number of walk-ons. So I think we feel good about the guys we have.
Could you tell us who they are and what they're doing?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Lance White comes to us from Lebanon High School, and his wife was also hired as the new girls basketball coach. Mike Matthews, been out for a while. Last coach with Gary Rankin over at Riverdale, and he's come to me, and we're excited to have him. He's a terrific coach, and both those guys are 2 new guys. And Keith Hudson will also be joining us on the offensive line, and then there's 4 guys that have been there the last year. Greg Burns at receiver, Vic Wharton, DBs, Chad Gates, the freshman head coach, and Jonathan Boren, another assistant offensive line coach, and Roy Mangrum does our our strength and conditioning. So I feel like we got a pretty good group there to at least get this thing started with.
Right. You're kind of on the opposite end, Coach Keasler, that you get Summit, you're adding a class each year, so it should be a little bit easier for you getting assistant coaches in there. Tell us about your staff and who's working with you.
Of course, I was able to hire 2 new coaches this year, and we've added since year 1. Obviously, you're adding teachers because you're adding kids, and I feel like our administration does a great job supporting football and trying to get good coaches and teachers in the building. But like I said, we haven't lost anyone. We have John Dryden, who is our offensive coordinator. Jack Dinwiddie works with our offensive line. James Boyette with the wide receivers. I will be coaching the strong safeties on the defensive side of the football. Kirk Embry, who does the defensive backs. Larry Heiss, who comes to us from Illinois and was at Smyrna for a year. He's our defensive coordinator. Sam Ridley, who does the defensive back, or running back, excuse me. And I just hired 2 new coaches. Brian Duncan will work with our defensive ends, and Benji Coughlin from Alabama, he'll be working with our defensive tackles. So I feel like we have a great staff. You know, all the hours we put in and they put in, they pretty much do anything you ask of them to try and see that these kids are taken care of and that the football team's improving at all times. I'm very pleased with the way that's turned out. And as you said, it hasn't been easier probably for us at times to get them in because we're growing positions.
Sure.
So.
And most of those guys are teachers also?
Yes, sir. We're allowed 3 non-faculty,
Yeah.
and the rest. Dr. Former has helped me get coaches in the
Right.
building, and I really appreciate them for their work they do for the football program.
Right. Coach Webb, go over your staff for us, please.
We were fortunate. We lost 2 off of last year's staff. Most of them are back from last year, and we were able to get 2 in the building. So we're excited about that. Offense side of the ball, we've hired Dan Winfrey. He's, Dan,
Sure.
from Brentwood days. And Ben Kuhn is going to coach our offensive line. A good young coach. Real excited about him, working hard. And then the rest of the offense staff are left over from last year as well. Andrew Tomlinson and Tony Keaton. On the defensive side of the ball, I moved. They're all returned, but we just had a couple that I moved from offense over to defense to make some changes. But we have Ken Curtis, who's been at Franklin. We have Travis Shepard, who was new to the system last year. We have myself and Coach Marshall Winkler, and then we at this point right now we have 1 non-faculty. Is Darian Waters, who was a player there when I first got to Franklin. Probably remember his names. And then we added a freshman coach who's helping with varsity because we all work in all aspects of the program. Kevin Weeks, who's been in the system before as well.
Sure. Coach Rector, I was kind of at your practice this morning out there. It looked like you had some good help out there.
I do. It's been really good. Our principal, who was hired in about the middle of the year last year, Lee Webb, is amazing. And I worked with her at Ravenwood, and so I feel like we have a great working relationship. And so I won't ever bring anybody to her that's not high quality in terms of teaching or coaching or whatever their role might be. But it's a lot of good help. There's Greg Stouts, the head freshman coach, and Chaz Scales is going to be a teacher's aide in the building. He's a former player.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got him back. That's great. Math teacher Paul Dietrich will be helping, and we just hired also for the freshman level Bobby Majors, who I used to coach with, believe it or not, my first job about 16 or 17 years ago in Owensboro, Kentucky. And he's retired from Kentucky and wants to do the whole double dip thing, so he'll be back in to help with the freshman staff. Then on defensive staff, Michael Copley is our defensive coordinator and strength coach. Alex Melton will coach defensive backs. Wade Privet will coach the defensive line, and they let me coach the outside linebackers on defense, so I get to do a little bit of coaching there, I guess. Offensively, Brett Tavo is our quarterback's coach and offensive coordinator. Joe Rietfeld, who was at Ravenwood, he coaches the tight ends. Paul Perucchi is my 1 non-faculty coach, who will be doing some subbing in the district and in the county, largely at Centennial. He coaches wide receivers. And then Rob Boffman, our head baseball coach, he coaches our running backs. So it's a great staff, and we have a lot of fun, and they do a lot. I mean, it's unbelievable how much I don't have to do, to be honest with you. Sometimes I get a little bit bored, and I'll go over there and mess somebody up for a while, and then there you go. But I'm real happy about our staff for this upcoming year.
Yeah. Coach Woodward, tell us about your staff.
Yeah, we have a great staff also. It's a nice mixture, guys who were on the previous staff at Brentwood, and then some other guys who've come in. Pat Curran is going to be our defensive coordinator, and he's been at Brentwood the last several years. Stephen Slowey is going to be coaching our defensive linebackers. Mark Manikavich will be running running backs, and those guys were all at Brentwood before. New guys coming in. Ken Rutan, coming from Independence, is taking care of the defensive backs for us. Gabe Evans, who had actually coached with me before, is getting back into coaching and will be doing offensive lineman for us. And he's outstanding. He does a great job, so we're excited about having him back in there. And Tom Crawford is a retired guy. He's no longer teaching, but he's still helping us out with freshmen, with D linemen. Judd Granzow is our head freshman coach and also our strength and conditioning coach, and just does an outstanding job working with those guys. And then we're fortunate to have a former Titan, Dave Ball, come in as a non-faculty and work with our alignment. So high character guys, high effort guys, set great examples and do a great job with our kids.
Now, Pat Curran, did you work with him prior, or did you
I
coach
did.
him? What was the deal there with
when
him?
I was at Austin P,
Okay.
one of my stints there, yeah, he was a player there.
Okay.
So we go way back.
All right. All right, Coach Wills?
Dr. Vade's done a good job of making sure that we're fully staffed as well. We kept several guys off last year's staff and added to it. So coming from Brentwood with me is Clint Finch. He'll coach the offensive line for us. Coached the offensive line at Brentwood last year, does a great job. Coaching quarterbacks coming from Brentwood as well is Dan Questenberry. Dan does a wonderful job. Our defensive coordinator is Daniel Keel. He was Joe's defensive coordinator at Ravenwood last year. Defensive line will be Andy Elrod. Outside linebackers will be the position Coach Keel coaches, but he'll also have some help there. Jason Pope will be helping him there. Inside linebackers is Zach Farkas, who was just recently hired in the building, been at Page Middle School, but was able to transfer over. In the secondary, we feel like we hit a home run with Paul Derrick, who's been the secondary or the corners coach at Austin P, is now the safeties coach for us at Ravenwood. Our corners coach currently coaches at Woodland Middle and comes over in the afternoon is Joe Cardinal. On the offensive side, I think I forgot to mention the wide receivers coach, Alex Tragus, who's a holdover from last year's staff, and running backs coach Bryant Gunner as well from last year's staff. And our non-faculty guys, Harry McAnally used to be the head coach at Smyrna High School, coached me at Brentwood High School, as well as he's a retired educator. He's getting back in to volunteer with us. And we're recently in the process of going through and getting Chris Poole approved, who's the Ohio field rep for Huddle, but is moved to the area with his wife, and he's going to help us with our video stuff and volunteer with the freshmen on the D line, that kind of thing. So
It's nice to have a Huddle person in there working on the on the package with Huddle on the video part of it. As far as got out the inside scoop on that one there.
yeah, definitely be a blessing, absolutely.
Yeah, Coach Rathbone.
Well, being a smaller school, we just don't have a whole lot of positions, and we don't have a whole lot of turnover at Page. So, but we did get Seth Witherington. He's going to come in and help with the offensive line. He was the former head coach at Franklin Classical. The offensive side of the ball, we don't change. We keep the same staff coming back. It'll be me and Coach Polk will be the offensive coordinator. Brandon Head do quarterbacks, and Jonathan White, who's in his second year, will be my non-faculty coach. He'll do the receivers. We felt like we needed to really do something defensively. We struggled defensively last year. So I wanted to go back and do something that's more my personality, more my style, more my philosophy. So we hired Jackie Bennett to be the defense coordinator. Of course, he was in Page High School for 25, 30 years, and it's an attack type of defense. Dan Harkins comes back as our linebackers coach. We got Derek Pack from the middle school at Page Middle Rockruff Street. He's going to do the secondary. And Byerly, Brandon Byerly, you remember him a couple years ago, played under you. He's come back and helping with our kickers.
Well, Coach, I'm going to pick on you just a little bit because you and Fairview are only AA schools that we have here in our county. Would you tell us what district you're in and who the teams are that are in your district? And outside of Page High School, who's the team to beat in your district?
Well, we're in District 12, AA, CPA, they failed at our district somehow because nobody else wanted them in their district. We got Giles County. Those are the two big dogs in our district. And I can't really say which one's better because both of them win state championships within the past 2 or 3 years, and Giles will compete again this year. Then we got Marshall County, Spring Hill, and Cascade.
Okay.
That's the 5 schools that make the 6 schools that make up our district.
Yeah, a couple of your schools have new head coaches also, right?
Spring Hill, Giles, I believe that's the only 2.
The only 2?
Yeah.
All right. Coach Jackson, if I'm not mistaken, Paul, who's the opening game for us this year on our game of the week?
Well, it's Cheatham County at Fairview.
Yes, sir, that's going to be a tough one.
Well, now, how long were you at Cheatham County?
8 years.
8 years. Well, you're in a different district than Paige. Would you tell us who all's in your district?
Yes,
and
sir,
who's the team to beat?
We're in District 11, AA. It's the district that I came over from, so I'm pretty familiar with most of the teams over there. Probably year in and year out to win that district, you're going to have to compete with Camden. I think they do things the right way. They got a pretty good program. You know, they got a bunch of tough-nosed kids, and they'll come downhill at you. Besides Camden, you got Lewis County, who moved over. They're new to the district. Both Hickman County schools. Coach Finley went over to Stewart, so you got Stewart and Waverly, who are transfers, who I'm used to because we've played those guys the last few years. But being a 9-team district, you know, it's up in the air. Hopefully we'll have a good showing and put a good team on the field so we compete with those guys.
Sure. Now, would you tell us, kind of go over who some of the assistant coaches are there for Coach Hughes and
Yes,
what
sir.
your responsibilities are?
Yes, sir. Well, I think there was very little turnover being a small school, like Coach said earlier, but they lost a defensive coordinator who I believe is still in the schoolhouse, and Coach Hughes just promoted his secondary coach, Chris Butler, up to the defensive coordinator. On defense, you got Coach Brian Myatt, who's helping out on defense with Coach Butler. He coaches the linebackers, and Domingo Rios, who is a volunteer assistant, a non-faculty guy who coaches D-line. I'm doing the offensive line on the offensive side of the ball, and Chris is doing a lot with the running backs and receivers and quarterbacks, and that pretty much fills out our staff.
Okay. Coach Blade, I'm going to give you a phrase, and I want you to give me a answer, or just what's your philosophy? You're on the 10-yard line. You're going out. Cloud of dust or let it fly?
Probably going to be a little conservative.
Okay. Cloud of dust.
Cloud of dust.
Coach Keasler.
Now, a lot of it depends on the way they're going to play you down there. I think you can take a shot here and there. We won't. We will be running the football.
Cloud of dust.
Yes, sir.
All right, Coach Donnie.
Inside of 10 coming out, then one of them's going to be let it fly.
All right, Coach Rector.
Cloud of dust.
Let it fly.
Absolutely, let it fly.
Yeah, you know we're letting it fly.
Well, if we went to a percentage, Coach Rathbone, since you said you know we're going to let it fly, what are you looking at this year, philosophy-wise? Are you going to be 80-20 on let it fly, or are you going to be more than that?
It depends. If we're way ahead, then we may even out that percentage a little bit more. But, really, I think all the coaches here do a very good job of putting it in the hands of their best player. We lost 20 starters. Our best player is our quarterback. So that's who I'm going to trust to make the plays for us. So we're going to throw the ball 65, 70% of the time.
All right. Coach Hester, again, same type of philosophy here. Read and react or attack and disrupt?
We'll be read and react.
All right. Coach Woodward?
Read and react.
Attack and disrupt.
Read and react.
Always had trouble with that question because we're based out of a read and react, but we will blitz quite a bit also. So I don't know if I can really answer your question.
Well, let me back up here. We're on the 10-yard line, and their backs against the wall. All right, so
Pressure.
Okay, you're going with pressure. Coach Blake,
Read and react.
Coach Jackson.
I believe in pressure. I like making things happen on the opposing team side of the football. I think if you can make something happen in their backfield, you might you know, it could be big for you or big for them, either way.
All right. Just trying to learn a little bit about everybody here. Coach Rector, I'll start with you this time. College or pro? What's your favorite, college or pro?
No question, college.
College. Who's your favorite team?
That's a harder question.
Uh-oh.
I don't really have one. I grew up in Kentucky, so you know, for years and years it was Kentucky. It didn't work out so hot. So most
We're talking
of the
about
time.
football, coach, not basketball.
I know, exactly. That's why it didn't work out so hot. I know, right?
Yeah.
So I just like to see the game of the week. You know, I just love
Okay.
to see the game of the week on a Saturday night. That's what I like to do now.
All right. Coach Woodward,
Yeah, college.
who's your team?
Well, I'm kind of similar to Coach Rector. I grew up in Illinois, so I will claim the Fighting Illini, even though they don't win football games very often. But I just love watching any game on Saturdays.
I thought they made a little progress at the end of the year last year, didn't they not? Or was that Indiana?
That was
That's probably Indiana.
Yeah, yeah.
Indiana. Yeah. Sorry about that, Coach.
It's okay.
Coach Hester.
Definitely the college game. And I grew up, you know, the first 14 years of my life, my family were season ticket holders at Auburn University, so I'm an Auburn fan.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Is that Eagle in there? I can't keep up with if they're War Eagles
They're
or
the
a
War
Tiger or what, because I
It's
mean,
like
they,
Alabama, the Crimson Tide, who has an elephant as a mascot.
yeah, I know it. I can't figure them out. Coach Rathbone, I know who it's going to be for you, but go ahead and tell everybody.
I'm a big fan of both, really, to be honest with you, but I'm a huge Cowboy fan. And I really liked James Franklin until he didn't let us win his tournament this weekend. So, I mean, you know, I'm kind of swaying to Georgia now.
Okay. Well, I thought you might go to your alma mater, Carson Newman there, Coach.
Well, that's a given. But,
That's
I
a
mean,
given.
You know, we're usually talking about SEC.
Okay.
South.
All right. Coach Jackson?
I'm a big fan of both, Coach. We, you know, when I was in high school, I was a huge Tennessee fan, and having gone and played at UT Martin, it was kind of a big turnoff. If we played at the same time Tennessee did, we had about a third of the crowd that we would have if we played at different times, and that was pretty aggravating. But I like to pull for them. On the pro side of the ball, I've always been a huge Bears fan. I had family members that were stationed in Chicago, military guys, growing up, and I used to, as a kid, I'd sit back and watch all the Bears games with my family.
Okay. Coach Blake?
College, definitely.
And your team?
I don't really have a team. I like watching certain coaches and what they do, and probably, you know, enjoy watching Coach Saban. I enjoy watching Coach Franklin. I think I'm going to enjoy watching Coach Jones a whole lot. So, you know, I don't get to see the West Coast as often as I'd
Sure.
like to see.
Right.
But definitely a college fan.
All right. Coach Keasler?
I'm a big-time New Orleans Saints fan, but I do prefer the college game, I believe. And I'm an Auburn fan. I'm from Louisiana. People are puzzled every time they ask me, and I say Auburn and not LSU, but it just didn't take while I was there. So, but definitely prefer college football.
Well, you've got the Auburn colors also.
Yeah, and it
right
worked
there
out for us too, yes.
At Summit. Coach Webb?
Definitely college, Middle Tennessee, and Father Bala and I will root for Notre Dame.
Oh, me. Well, let's start talking about some of your kids. Coach Rathbone, we'll start back with you. If you would, just kind of go over some of your seniors, how many seniors you have on your squad, and kind of, you know, where you at with your numbers.
Well, we got about 65, 70 kids out. We got about 8 to 9 seniors, so we're going to be very young. We're replacing about 20 starters off last year's team. We got our center and our quarterback back. Probably the leader of the team is Zach Mizell. Everything's going to flow through him, and offensively anyway, everything's going to flow through him. But we do have some receivers that, if they step up and if they mature and play, they're going to be very good. Matt Fornero, Mason Smith, Corey Bond played great at Vanderbilt this past weekend. Tyler Thiemann. So we do have some guys that on offensively that we can lean on. Defensively, that's a work in progress. You know, we got to have some guys in secondary. Parker Easterling has the ability to step up, and he's a senior and play big for us. Up front is obviously the Achilles heel for a small school. We just don't have the size, and that kind of why I developed the philosophy of throwing the ball. We don't have the size to sit there and pound people. And you know, you mentioned Carson Newman. You know, we ran the ball 95% of the time, the veer. And I wish we had the size to read and react up front and stop the run game, but we can't. So we're going to have to constantly be moving our smaller guys and getting them in a position to make plays. But we'll see how it comes out. It's going to be an exciting year, I think.
Okay. All right. Coach Hester.
We've got 26 seniors. I think we're carrying about 88 players on the roster right now. We had a couple of seniors move in to get us to that 26 total. One from Minnesota and one from Connecticut. Both those guys are working hard, and we're kind of trying to evaluate them and see where they fit. But most of our senior leadership comes in the linebacker core. Robert Pomeroy and John Cockerham both have seen a lot of time at linebacker, as well as outside linebacker Chris Wine. So those guys have played a lot of plays already. We returned 8 guys on defense, 4 guys on offense. So obviously, offensively, we have some holes to fill, but we're blessed with a pretty good move-in wide receiver. It's not bad. It's going to help us. And we've got a good quarterback battle going. We have 4 guys that we think are adequate quarterbacks that could manage the game if we needed them to. We just got to get one to rise to the top here, and we'll see who it is.
Coach Bone, I'm going to go back to you in just a second now. Do you have any kids that have, I know you got some want to play college football, but has any already be received an offer already? You got anybody?
Zach Mizell got an offer from Charleston Southern. The coaching staff actually has them at Tech right now. The only reason we went to Tech was so that their staff could evaluate Zach. So he's over there right now being evaluated. I'm pretty confident that they're going to make an offer to him.
Okay.
Mason Smith at receiver is getting a lot of looks, a lot of calls, so hopefully he'll receive an offer. And after that, we're just we're still fielding offers,
Sure,
I guess would be the best way to put it.
Right. Coach Hester, you have any kids that's been offered already?
The receiver that we got in the spring, Van Jefferson, been offered by Penn State, Vanderbilt, Central Florida, MTSU, Arkansas, and goes to Tennessee on Friday. And from speaking to them, I'm pretty sure that they'll offer him. But he's in the 2015 class. He's only a junior. So in this class, we have several guys that are getting a lot of Division II, Division III looks, NAI type stuff. A lot of them that have desires to play after high school, and we'll do everything we can to make that happen for them.
And I think you said you had a pretty good move in. If he's been offered by that many kids as a junior, I'm gonna up that a little bit above. Pretty good there. Coach Woodward.
We have about 18 seniors, 75 to 80 on the roster right now. Some of the seniors, Aaron Mayer is going to be a starter on both sides of the ball for us, a quarterback and safety. He's surpassed my expectations as far as learning a new offense. It's going to be his 3rd offense I think he's had in 3 years, and he's done a great job of picking it up. He's a dual threat back there quarterback. He can, he's a big kid who can run, but he can throw the ball too, and has done really well with that. And I think he's probably a better defensive player than he is offensive player. So I mean he's a very good one. Andy Shumpert will be a receiver and another safety for us. Big kid. I mean he's 6'3", maybe 6'4" now, and catches everything thrown at him. So those 2 guys will probably be the focal point for most people playing us. But we've got some other good players too. Austin Wells missed a lot of last year with an injury, but he's a senior who'll be moving around and play about 4 different spots for us, and has done really well this spring. And then a kid who didn't play last year but is coming back to us, Hunter Anderson, who actually has an offer at Southern Illinois to play baseball. But we're expecting good things out of him at a linebacker spot for us this year. And we got a group of linemen who maybe individually don't stand out because we don't have the big 6'4", 300-pound guys that maybe they've had in the past. But as a group, they've really gelled. They've come together, and they're almost all seniors, and expecting good things from them too.
Now, Coach, just a side question. Do you still have Hercules and Dolly in the package is what I want to
We
know.
will still be calling Hercules and Dolly, yes.
Okay, all right. That's an inside joke for everybody as far as what those plays are. All right, Coach
I know
Rector.
what that means. I know that joke. So do we before you ask.
Oh, okay.
We have, I think, 14 seniors. There's 65 on the varsity roster. We have some very good returning players at wide receiver with Bailey Wisnowski and Emmanuel Hall. Emmanuel Hall has been offered from Vanderbilt and South Florida, as well as Louisville. And he'll be at the same camp on Friday, so hopefully he'll pick one up there. They're just working really hard at that kind of stuff, and that's awesome. It's got to be very exciting for them. We have an experienced offensive line coming back. None of them are Division 1A football players, but maybe every one of them could play at a lower level, maybe a walk-on 1AA, maybe get a little bit of money at 1AA, whatever. But we have two guys coming back that have 3 years starting experience, and the other two this will be their second year as starters. So that, is good. None of them are like Coach Hester was talking about, or a real giant or anything like that, but they're just experienced high school football players, and that's what you need. Running back, we did lose a really good running back last year, but we've got a couple others that we feel like can fill the void, and BJ Griffin and Deion Sanders. They're both big backs that we feel like can just get good yards by putting their shoulders forward. Our quarterback situation sounds almost exactly like Coach Hester's. We've got 3 that we think could play, but all in all, we're looking for them to be adequate. We lost a very good quarterback this offseason, so it's going to be very different in that regard. But all 3 of those quarterbacks are working very hard, and they're all rising juniors, and so we'll see where that one plays out. We have to put the pads on to decide that first.
Sure.
Defensively, we've got several defensive backs that are returning that all have experience, so we should be pretty solid up there. 2 linebackers, or 3 out of 4 anyway, and then 2 out of the 3 D linemen. So I feel like we can be pretty good on defense, but the experience factor just hasn't showed through obviously yet. So we've got to make that happen.
All right. Coach Webb.
Right now, we got 25 seniors that are on the roster. I think it's 84 is on the varsity roster at this point right now. Really, really excited about the senior class. They way back from in November, essentially, as soon as, because we got our 3-week dead period over pretty quick, and everybody else was playing. So, but I'll give them some credit. They getting up at 5:30 in the morning, and almost there's a couple that have joined us, that we've kind of come back. We all go through it with kids. You wish they'd stay in it, but they come back, and we're gonna give them another shot. That are seniors, but of the rest of them that have been there the whole time, they were 100% of workouts, or they were in basketball, wrestling, they were in another sport, and they were accounted for. So really, really excited about some leadership we think we're getting out of those guys. Probably the best phone call I got before I came over here was that Colton Black finally has gotten released from the doctor. He is just not, knock on some wood down here. We think he's a really good high school running back. Tremendous kid, has great grades. Several of the Ivy League schools, there'll be some form of a package for him. And when it's over, we're hoping we can keep him healthy, because we are a lot better football team when he's back there. We bring back on offense, there's essentially 8. There's 7 true starters. There's an 8th one, you might as well call him a starter. And so we feel like we've got some experience on that side of the ball. We got Ben Hageman. When you're talking about kids also that are getting looks, when you're 6'4", 230 pounds,
Right.
the coach turns his head, because he didn't play a down for us last year. He was ineligible, just played in JV games, and so he's gotten everything from just working hard and going to camps, and he's got several offers. And then, I apologize, several looks. He has not gotten an offer yet. I apologize on it. But the only true offer is our quarterback. We do have a quarterback back. He was offered by UAB when he went to their camp for 2015. And then he's going over to middle. It's funny how it works. One Conference USA school does, and all of a sudden they're all calling.
Sure.
And he threw the ball well up there this weekend. Tony Flemister's a receiver who's getting a lot of looks for us. One thing I will say about us, not to go on forever, but we're big at receiver. I wish we could run real fast along with it, like some of these kids are talking about. But if we can learn to play big, our quarterbacks he's pretty heady and can be good. If we're trying to teach these guys, we're going to dink it in there and be more physical inside, because we do have some big receivers. And defensively, we've definitely got to get better. All you got to do is look at our scores, and we're trying to. All of us have done this, coach. I took my best player that was on the line last year, and he can move well, and I'm trying to force him to become a Mike, and we're going to see how it works. And his name's Tyler Beasley, and if it does, then I feel like we've got some stuff, and in our secondary, almost all of our back, so I feel like we got a chance to be pretty good.
Summit High School.
I believe we have 13 seniors, and it's the majority of the kids, not all of them, but the majority that started with us and went through some rough times, some definite, you can call them growing pains, having to play varsity football that first year. You know, and the oldest kid we have is, you know, we have one that's 16 and the rest are 15 and 14. But we do have a good senior class. I mean, the kids we want there are the kids that have stuck it out. Not getting as much college recognition right now, to be honest with you. People are still trying to figure out who we are and where we are, where we're located. We get phone calls occasionally, and we're starting to have people coming out of the building a little more often. It's funny, I have a nephew down there in Lake Charles. He's been offered by probably about 40 different schools, and one of the phone calls I get, I'm thinking it was a coach from Auburn. I'm thinking, hey, Auburn's calling us. The first thing he did was ask me about my nephew. Yeah, we have D. Hunter, who will be our tailback. He'll probably play some quarterback. That's an area we're still working the kinks out. We think we have a kid that'll be able to help us there and step in, but D will always be able to. He's played there last year. I would say he's probably our best athlete and just total football player. Philip Sherry, who's a wide receiver, he'll also play cornerback for us. Stephen Schreiner, who has been come a long way from his sophomore year to his senior year, is a great kid. One of the hardest workers we have. He's proof that hard work will get you where you want to be in life in general. He's proof of it. But honestly, we're still playing, if you want to call juniors underclassmen, the majority of our kids will be juniors. Maybe a couple sophomores will help, and we're going to have a real good group of freshmen coming in. We may dress 5 or 6 of those kids. But like I said, I think D will end up having a chance. He's received some letters. Try to tell these kids, because you have a letter or a form letter or a come to our camp in an envelope, that does not mean that you're being recruited by LSU.
Right.
But like I said, once again, great group of kids. Have been a pleasure to coach. They know athletically where they are, you know, and what they need to work on, and they give everything they can on Friday nights, and that's all you can expect, especially in a young program.
Coach Blade, Independence.
Okay, we have about 10 seniors, about 45 on the varsity roster, and 3 returning starters from last year. So 1 offense lineman and 2 corners. So the challenge is there to develop depth and develop players right away. And so we do have 3 of those seniors are doing real well, and they've 1 committed to UT, Vic Wharton, 1 committed to Missouri in finest dribbling, and 1 is yet to commit, Rashawn Golden. So got some interesting, got some good players in that senior crew. Don't have the numbers, but that we'd like. But kids are working hard, and we'll do the best we can.
Who you looking at right now for that quarterback position, Coach?
Like a couple
You got
other
3 or 4,
coaches.
like-
Say we have 3 or 4. We repped actually 4 on Saturday at the Vandy tournament. We repped 4 guys. Now there's 2 of them that are closer to each other, and senior probably has the slight edge right now because of maturity. But that we'll wait and see how they do on the scrimmages. The 7-on-7s is one thing. It's a whole different stress level, if you will. So we'll see as it goes, and if it's if it's remotely close, we'll keep playing them out, and we'll play a couple quarterbacks. I've never done that before, but we'll do it.
Okay. Coach Jackson, Fairview.
Yeah, Coach, we got 14 seniors returning, and me being there, having been there the past 5 weeks, I really don't know a whole lot about all the kids, having not seen them in past, besides what I've seen on film, having played them twice last year. But in the defensive secondary and linebackers, I think 6 of the 7 of those 14 seniors. On offense, I know they've lost a couple of playmakers from last year's team and looking for a couple of guys to step up. The front runner for quarterback right now, and he had a pretty good showing at the 7-on-7 at Vandy this past week. He's a sophomore. He's a young kid. His name's Hunter Zimmerman, but the ball really jumps out of his hands, and he's a leader on the field. I like how he looks and how he carries himself. In the backfield, you got a couple of guys that have played a lot of football in their career. Garrett Wall, who a lot of people think highly of, and Nick Harvey, along with Rashard Moore, who's a little brother of the Moore kid who graduated last year, who was a good player. Up front, I've been working with the linemen. I'm really impressed with how they've been working thus far. Not the biggest guys. You know, last year at Cheatham County, it was easy for me because I had a line that I'd played with I've coached them since they were freshmen all the way through, and it was a pretty good group of guys. But I really like how these guys are working right now, and you know, I think if they continue to do what I ask, we could be pretty good.
One of the biggest changes that I've noticed probably over the last 10 years is the notoriety that recruiting's getting. I mean, it's almost as big as football on Saturday. Anywhere you look at, you've got Rivals or 247 or Scot or, you know, all these different groups, ESPN's Top 150 and all that. Kids are getting all this publicity early. Coach Hester, is that a good thing or is that a negative thing for a high school football coach?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be all about the maturity level of the kid that's involved. You know, the family of our kid that's getting all the attention does a good job of keeping him grounded. You know, dad's background is in the NFL, and so they kind of know what they're looking for and what they're dealing with. And, you know, obviously it could go to their head real easily, but, you know, I haven't seen any of that out of him to this point. But it does cause some conflicts. You know, there are all kinds of these top 150 camps and stuff going on around the country nowadays, and, you know, they end up being sometimes in July, you know, when we're getting started, and you're going to have to find a way to balance that kind of stuff, you know, with the kid getting recruited and how does that affect your team and practice in general. So it's definitely a balancing act, but, you know, as far as the kids, you know, I've never seen more kids in Middle Tennessee with SEC offers than we have this year. I mean, look at Rutherford County and look at Williamson County now. I mean, it's got to be good for high school football in Tennessee because you and I have spoken before, and if you take the city of Memphis out of Tennessee, there'd only be 10 or 12 D1 signees ever in the state of Tennessee, and there's probably 15 in Williamson and Rutherford County combined already offered, underclassmen that are offered. So, you know, it's got to be helping because more kids in there, you're getting noticed.
Mm-hmm. Coach Blade, since you've got 3 kids that have already had multiple offers and a couple is committed, does that mean your cell phone is getting more texts, more phone calls, emails? What does it mean to you as a head coach when you got kids getting that much publicity?
Yeah, it's busy during spring ball, during that spring semester. It got real busy, and you can imagine on the kids' end of it. But a lot of times, you know, coach will say the same. They go through you to get them to text or call them. So it's like you're the middleman, and that's a pain. But yeah, it was a busy spring semester for sure.
Yeah. I remember many years ago, a long time before most of y'all even started, getting a phone call from Coach Fulmer. It was about 10:15 at night, and I'm an early person. I go to bed at 9 o'clock, and I'm in bed, and that phone rings, and I'm thinking, who in the world is this? And it was Coach Fulmer. He's an assistant coach then. He's down in Atlanta. He was recruiting one of the linemen I had at that particular time. But did they get you at home, Coach?
Yeah, I can at least twice, and I'm an early person too.
Yeah.
After 10 o'clock, you know, it might be a different time zone somewhere else, and somebody wants to get an interview. If, you know, we had a kid just commit, so now get an interview, or like you said, can you set this up for tomorrow or this and that? Or bright and early in the morning too.
Yeah.
I was like, Coach, we were up at the 5:45 for workouts, but I was up. I got some early phone calls. So, yeah, it made it. It's nice to have those players, and it's a nice, nice problem to have. But yeah, it can require some time though.
Mm-hmm. Coach Rector, do you notice a disruption when a college coach comes on campus while you're out there practicing? Does your kids, is it a disruption or is it a motivator?
I would think it's, you know, at worst it's a distraction. It's never a disruption.
Okay.
At worst it's a distraction. But to be honest, you know how it is. The kids are, they're like us. You know, if the boss comes around, you might sit up straight or whatever, and that's kind of what they do. Their stance is a little better and their tempo is a little better whenever they see somebody with a T or a V or whatever on their crest of their shirt. So that's never really been a big issue at all. I'm happy that guys are coming by our campus
Sure.
and looking at our kids. I know everybody here, you know, feels the same way about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna get to District 11 AAA. Sorry, Coach Rathbone, Coach Jackson, but we have 6 of the 7 teams represented in the new District 11 AAA. So with a 1-2-3, Coach Hester.
Somebody's
Number
gonna
one
get their feelings
team,
hurt in here.
number 1 team, number 2 team, number 3 team. If you are picking
I think
right
if we
now,
all say Dixon's won, everybody will be happy.
well, I mean, go ahead, tell me who you think now, because Paul's over here, he's taking notes, he's trying to get ready for the TV shows, and we're all just kind of, I know you don't pick Ravenwood, you can't pick yourself now, okay? Can't pick yourself.
I think it's a 5-way tie for first with
Oh,
everybody
listen
but
to me.
Ravenwood. I'm the new guy. I'm not trying to make any enemies.
Oh, but
around
you've been in this district a long time, Coach. You may be new at the head of it, but you've been here.
I truly believe that that it's top heavy. I mean, I think that there's going to be some teams. I don't think there'll be a team in our district go undefeated in the district. I think there's a good possibility that we'll kind of beat up on each other. I think you could have a 1, maybe even a 2-loss team come away as the district champion. But it's all depend on how the chips fall. I mean, obviously talent-wise, Coach Blade and Independence don't have the numbers everybody else has, but they have as good or better players in certain positions as anybody else has.
Mm-hmm.
So, however his offensive line develops, or defensive line for that matter, they could be the best team in the league. And, Coach Webb has the best quarterback in the league, I would say. However that shakes out could make for the best team in the league. And then you got to look at Brentwood. They've had, arguably the best team for the longest amount of time. All they know how to do is win games. So, you got to throw them in the mix. So I would say it could be any one of those 3 teams to be the first place team. And then, Coach Rector and his staff does such a good job of coaching their kids. They're going to be right there in the mix too. So if I had to say a team, I would probably say Brentwood 1, Independence 2, Franklin 3, something like that.
Okay, so we're going to go Coach Webb, since he's been in this district at least 1 more year than some of the others.
I say you take Brentwood until somebody knocks them off.
Okay.
They really, going back in even the JV games, they've got, everybody talk about all the seniors they had. They've got a good group coming right here also. And I'd go Brentwood, Independence, Centennial.
All right, Coach Rector.
Independence, Brentwood, and Franklin.
All right. I know it's not fair to Coach Blade, but go ahead, Coach Blade.
I think I'm just coming back here, and this is all these guys I've known since I've been in the state for the last 7 years, and we've had some incredible battles, and Coach, we didn't play each other except for some 7-on-7. Of course, Coach Woodward at Antioch, that was the closest game in 06. Coach Hester, obviously, when he was at Laverne, we went over there every year. These are guys that I respect, and looking forward to working with Coach Keasler and the rest of the coaches. But man, you got it tough. I agree with Coach Hester. I don't know if anybody goes through unscathed. Now, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know if you guys have changed all your schemes. I know we're all pretty strong in our personalities and what we believe in, and we know that we're going to get a good game. But I don't know. I know, like I said, Coach Rector at Centennial. I think it's potentially a Centennial, Brentwood, Franklin.
Okay.
I just think, and that's not no. I don't want to badmouth anybody, or trust me, that's not what we're doing. I got nothing but respect for these coaches up here, and am excited and stoked to be up in this district.
I understand. Coach Keasler.
Well,
And you're the only 5A school
Yes, sir.
in the district.
Yes,
We're
sir.
looking at all 6As.
brand new, moving up, coming into what I consider a great district for Tennessee football, Middle Tennessee football especially. What you have is a bunch of really, really good football coaches that care about kids and that, all have their pros and cons as far as players. Some lack depth, and like we all do, may lack at this position or that position, but Will brought up the fact that everyone's so talented or good or has the potential to win this district without question. It reminds me of Rutherford County. You just kind of beat on each other all season. But toward the end of the season, the playoffs, you're ready to make a run because you'd seen the best. And this county is very similar. Just having played or coached against them, and they were always consistent. Brentwood always comes to mind. Just the consistency factor. The kids always look the same. I was telling somebody they're all of them are 6'2", 225. You know, I mean, every one of them. None of them are just, gargantuan, but they're all good-looking kids every year. Franklin obviously has a lot coming back. Centennial, very athletic. Coach Rector does a great job with those kids. And I wouldn't, put it past Will to shock some folks out there with that. And it's Tony Franklin, or where are we going to go? You going to tell me later?
We don't know.
And I'm not really giving much of an answer. Independence is loaded with athletes. He has a state championship at Hillsborough underneath his belt, and he's proved he can win, and is a very good football coach. I'd say maybe Brentwood, Franklin, Independence, Centennial, all.
Coach Woodward, comes to you, man.
Again, I'm going to echo everybody else's sentiments that, this may be, if not the top, one of the top districts statewide. I mean, just listen to the coaches when they talked about their personnel, and I got offers here, I got offers there, I got 2 or 3 guys with offers, and coaches all have, proven track records. I think we got a great group of coaches right here. But push to the fire, pick the top 3. I would just go ahead, I would say Independence, Centennial, Franklin.
Well, coaches, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come and be with us today for the first annual Coaches Roundtable. I wish everybody the best of luck. Stay healthy, keep them cool, and let's get ready for week 0. Everybody's playing week 0, right? I think in this schedule. Franklin's not. That's the only one that's not. But we'll be contacting you throughout the year for the game of the week. Again, thank you. Thank you for joining us for today's special edition of the Williamson County Sports Connection. I'm Jack Daniels, your host.